All right, hello. This is a Cosmic Otaku, and we are going to be watching only part of Who Wants to Live Forever, right? The answer to this question is me. If you could give me biological immortality, so it's like, instead of dying, I could go into suspended animation for like an otherwise mortal wound until I can get medical treatment. And again, like I don't deteriorate from aging, because there are certain animals like that. I would absolutely take that deal, right? That would be a deal I could take. If you could keep my mind and body, if I could keep my mind and body in pristine condition, then yes, I would take that deal. If I have to experience eternal degradation for that, then no, absolutely fucking not, right? But anyway, so outside the meme question, let's talk about, because I talked about 3D printing technology and how there were people who were against 3D printing technology. Interestingly enough, New York seems to have done something rather interesting about the 3D printing technology, and it was something I saw coming as well. I don't think I mentioned it in that video because it wasn't relevant, but, you know, we'll see what I'm talking about. Good night, Philly Pay.
Officially signed, New York just banned online.
Immortality sounds boring after a while. It's not about being boring, right? The boring part is not the part that bothers me, right?
Sales of CNC machines, lathes, and 3D printers. Required surveillance software on every single one. And there's a bill in committee to require a background check to buy them at all. Look around you at who didn't fight or who only appeared to fight once they saw my video views pouring in. Video soon!
Now, to be fair, I didn't know this was happening. First of all, I don't really pay attention to New York because New York is a hellscape, and I think New York deserves to collapse, right? So I don't really care about like stopping New York from collapsing. I think New York and California should collapse under the weight of their own hubris, unless the people, again, get their act together and then decide to stop doing the shit that's causing their state to collapse. But that being said, my disdain for the left, states, notwithstanding, but he's, this is, apparently, put spyware. You have to have spyware in your fucking printers. That way they can detect exactly what it is you're printing. And if you print something that the state deems illegal, mostly for like weapons manufacturing, even if it's a false report, which will happen if you put this software into these machines, then that's going to be required to get a 3D printer and a CNC machine. Because these people expect, again, in the future, we already had an issue where it's like a jerry-rigged gun was used to assassinate Shinzo Abe, right? So you can still technically, even with plastics, print, for example, a 3D, it wasn't made by 3D printing per se, but in theory you could 3D print out without metal a jerry-rigged firearm. But you could also, with a metal printer, right, 3D metal printing, which is something I'm looking forward to. Because I'm going to think, because personally, I think ghost gunners are heroes in this case, right? In my opinion, the ghost gunner is a hero. In my opinion, the pirate is a hero. Just, in my opinion, the man who jailbreaks the 3D printer from the bonds of New York is a hero, and I will hear no counter arguments, right? But especially considering that weapons are part of my religion, right? But anyway, but yeah, no, he's absolutely right. Like all of these legislatures in New York who didn't fight against the passing of this bill, absolutely look into them, because they could have done something, and now. Again, it is law that 3D printers require spyware on them so that the government can monitor what it is you're printing. The government has no right to do so, in my opinion.
I don't know what he means by this, because this is the first time I've heard anything about this, but
That's exactly what, again, me and Kirsche, do pay attention to what's going on. Although, to be fair, we pay attention to very different aspects of what's going on. And this just never crossed my radar. So it's like, again, but I do have the disadvantage that I don't live anywhere near New York, right? I live in literally in Texas. It would be really fucking far away, right? So
I guess I'm not a New York resident. But he said, just dropped full video. Correction, S905C was used And it was amended to strip the online sales restriction. Everything else, including the blocking technology, possession, etc. Like, what the fuck is New York doing?
Did it.
All right. Captain Rudy says there's a law they're trying to pass that would make the words mother and father on legal documents like birth certificates illegal, instead requiring the terms gestational parent and non-gestating parent. Yeah, again, this is one of those things where I was like, I totally understand. I don't think it's a wise decision, but I totally understand the Texas secessionists being like, look, I'm tired of dealing with these fucking idiots. I just want to leave the union at this point, have Texas be Texas. I understand the frustration. I don't agree with it, but I understand it, right? And New York and California are I understand, right?
I've been warning people on YouTube for 5 months with millions of views, telling people that the blueprint blocking technology was coming.
I will say I didn't even know who this person was until the Kirsche stream, because again, there's too many people making too many different things, and there's too many things going on. It's impossible to keep up with everything.
And the first state of many just passed it. It's going to require
What the
your
fuck is
tools
wrong with
like
his clock?
lathes, CNC machines, laser cutters, and even 3D
Does Kirsche not know what a military clock? Oh my god.
printer to check with a state database
Yeah, it's just a military clock. What the fuck? Okay.
to make sure that you're not printing ghost guns or ghost gun accessories.
Like, again, ghost gunners, as far as I am concerned, are abject heroes, right? Support your local ghost gunner.
Ooh,
But this really isn't
like the
about
Hank Hill of
ghost guns.
firearms.
This is a full-on war on manufacturing.
Yeah, the whole goal about this is to control who gets to be a producer, right? Because here's the thing, and I think that they mentioned this later in the video, but the thing is like, the AI is not going to be very good at determining what is and is not actually being, like, printed as a firearm, right? It's only going to have generalizations that it's going to append to things that are firearms. And then it's also going to append those things to things that are not firearms, because the AI is not all that bright and good at recognizing these things. And then it's also going to append those things to, going to fail to append those things to certain firearms as well, right? So it's like, what are we doing here? We all have this issue of, like, again, using AI, and the AI just, like, does not understand what it's looking at. We've all had this happen to us.
Now, you almost lost the ability to buy these tools online. Not kidding. That was in the bill up until the final moments, but they removed it. All right, now let's get into it. And that's not all. This gets way worse and so dystopian that this is almost unbelievable. They are even working on requiring background checks to buy these common tools in person as well.
And I think this actually really makes sense, right? For the kind of, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Those are our tools, comrade. You may rent them from the community center, but you may not own them.
It goes further than that. That's also an attack on the right to repair. Because if you can get CNC routers, and if you can get 3D printers, and CNC routers and 3D printers are going to advance. They're going to become more sophisticated, and the less sophisticated ones are going to become cheaper and cheaper. But eventually, they're going to get to the point where you may very well just be able to manufacture your own replacement parts for things. That, you know, the right to repair community, the right to repair community has been fighting for your right to repair, right? And they're going to start with blocking the firearms, and then they're going to move on to, they're going to look for any kind of copyrighted material that, or trademark material. So I was like, oh yeah, you need to be able to use this screw for this job. Oh no, you don't get to use this, right? We're gonna actually bust down your door because we found that you were printing, CNCing a copy of the what would you call it? Like proprietary screws we used in this machine. Why? Because you want to repair your things you don't have a right to repair, right? So it starts with the guns, and then it goes way further than that. Let's see. Captain Rudy says... Oh, wait, we already said that. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, they understand until you disagree with them. Rippling Star says, New York government does not want citizens to have the means to create self-defense. They want to be the only source of defense and force. No, they want the natives to suffer, right? They want things like the Irina Zarutska thing to happen. They want the native-born New Yorker to be disenfranchised. They want to actually invert the order of society. You're giving them a little bit too much credit. I don't think that they want. I think that they want, to be perfectly honest, a little bit of chaos.
Seriously. Right now, every one of these machines sold in New York now has to come equipped with software that scans your design files before it lets you cut, drill, or 3D print anything.
Again, make sure that you have VPNs. That way, if something stupid happens and you need to be able to jailbreak your machine, then you can actually, again, have some layer of protection to where you can jailbreak your machine, right? I have no problem with jailbreakers. Jailbreakers do an absolutely stellar job, and I would read this, but it turns out Kirsche's hat is blocking a significant portion of the video, so I can't exactly read these.
A detection algorithm running on your machines, watching your files, deciding
That is
how
absurd.
you are allowed to use the tools.
No, thank you,
that
bro.
Again, they're demanding a literal spyware on every machine.
Bought and paid for. The language is so broad that the popular homemaker machine called the Cricket is included in this legislation.
Yep.
The fuck is
That's not by accident. That is by design.
even
Bill is
that?
called S9005. It's the New York fiscal 2026 budget. This is not a firearms bill.
Why the
It's a
fuck was this in the
bill,
budget?
And it was just made.
It's in the budget, again, to give the government, the state government, significantly more control over the population of New York and decide who gets to be the makers and who gets to be, which makers are authentic and which makers aren't, right? That's all it is. It's about the control of the society top down.
Into law. Think about what that means. A budget funds schools, pays state employees, keeps hospitals running, keeps the lights on in every government building in the state. They took all of that, held it hostage, and said that they're not signing any of it until we get control of your...
Hey, that sounds really fucking familiar. That kind of sounds like what was happening with multiple Congress shutdowns last year and the beginning of this year, I think, as well. To hide it so it will pass without people knowing. I really would like... I don't remember which politician it was. I can't remember if it was like a federal like tier politician or if it was just somebody locally in New Hampshire. But I really think that there should be something about clean bills. If you have like a budget bill, you can't shove stuff like this weird surveillance you will owe nothing bullshit into it. If you have something about a bill that does specifically funding for ICE, you can't stuff other shit into it. Right? Like I just clean bills for the love of fuck. That was Thomas Massey. Oh my god.
machines. It was due April 1st.
I'm currently looking through the congressional website because actually, funny enough, there was a suggestion for this exact subject matter.
It got extended 9 times.
Give me one moment, actually, because I think I might be able to find it. Because it turns out there's actually a number of constitutional amendments that have been proposed, many of which, not all of them, some of them are really bad, but many of which actually would have prevented a lot of the chaos that we are currently experiencing, because they would have given us more ways to fight back. But, hold on, I actually wrote a fictional update of the U.S. Constitution, which had mostly just, like, again, ratified a lot of those amendments that actually would make things significantly better. Hold on. So... okay, that was probably the dumbest way to do that. Oh my god. Okay. Actually, hold on. If I can it's probably under the keyword. Okay, yeah, that definitely narrows it down. Nope, that's okay, that's still not it. Okay, oh fuck! Okay, so I don't have the I don't have the direct link to it, which is definitely an issue on my part. But since I now have like literally the exact text, I can find it on Google. Okay, yep, there it is. The Library of Congress. I think this is the one. I think it is. Okay, this is taking a while, so I guess we'll continue on this.
Times and buried inside Part C is language that covers every machine capable of making three-dimensional
A lot of
modifications to an
states are
object.
fucking around with laws like this. It's a big fucking deal. This is kinda like how banning semi-auto bans all modern guns, except this bans all modern factories.
And the thing is just knocking down this this law doesn't actually do anything, because all they're gonna do is they're gonna again apply a similar what the fuck is it my brain is oh yeah, all they do is they immediately pass a almost identical bill that is just slightly off, right, slightly different, and then they say, well, you legislated, you ruled against this in the Supreme Court, but you didn't actually rule against this, and we got to do this over and over and over again. I actually think that we should have severe penalties for this exact behavior among congressmen and senators, right? I think that this should, like, if you get caught doing something like that, you should serve severe prison time. I actually think maybe life in prison for someone caught doing something like this, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, that's just me. Hold on. Oh, God. Apparently there was... Okay. The Rippling Star says that, too. Captain Rudy says, Second Amendment exists in the case the First Amendment fails. Now that gun owners in California and New York have been effectively cucked, now they're attacking the First Amendment like California with the Stop McShirley Act. There's another thing I have to talk about. Hello, Ted Fatash. Right. Captain Rudy says, right to repair has been an issue in the automotive world for years, especially with European vehicles. Work on my own vehicles and my brother's 2009 Volkswagen to fix it up. I spent $3,000 just in stuff to fix it. $500 of that was just tools, and those were cheap, good enough tools. Let's see, Rippling Star says, I'll explain myself. They want to be the only legal form of defense so that they can select who gets protection. So the lawful native citizens suffer, but the useful groups are safe. Yeah, that's another thing. The police actually don't have a legal obligation to defend you. There's multiple cases where the police... oh, good night, Gianella. You have a good night. But there's multiple examples of where the police... just straight up refuse to show up at a place, and then the individual, you know, obviously died. But you know, I digress, right? What are you gonna do, right? It's like fucking hell, mate. But yeah, it's like some of those are horrifying, but let's see if this actually gets me the thing I'm looking for. But yes, yeah, I do think that you're right. The ability to pick winners and losers in the game of chance, as well as pick, for example, which makers get to create, which makers get to not create. I think it's a totalitarian effort, not a single issue effort, because I do think the right to repair and the Second Amendment fall under this particular concern.
Between this and ice in airports, are we gonna see blue states go broke?
I don't know about going broke, because I'm sure some sort of like the companies that own factories probably aren't gonna care about this surveillance stuff, because they're like, oh yeah, we could just use it to make sure employees are actually doing work, and we can fire the ones that are being lazy, I guess.
No, there's going to be issues with this even there, but the problem is, first of all, you have a literal back door that's exploitable in the machine, right? Second of all, outside of the fact that you have a literal inbuilt exploitable back door, you also have the issue that, again, this goes to the monopoly thing, right? Now there's an extra barrier to entry when it comes to actually setting up a job, let's say, or like if you want to use your 3D printer for work, or if you want to use a CNC machine for, commission work. These are things that actually happen, and they just got priced out of the market.
So it's completely monitoring everything you do with the system. Wait, so then do all companies have to get new updated machines that have the surveillance in it? It'll be cheaper to just move out of New York?
Yep.
Probably. And we already have seen...
And I am fine with it. I am actually fine with New York collapsing under the weight of its own hubris. Again, like, I genuinely do not actually care about New York. I genuinely don't. But, you know, we all have to deal with the consequences of, the actions thereof.
Quite a lot of people fleeing from New York since Mamdani got elected. I wish he got arrested.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
We've seen people fleeing New York since he got elected. So this would not would not surprise me. My whole thing with New York right now is like, do not let your states become like New York, like Virginia, like California. Do not elect communists. Do everything you can to prevent the Democrats from getting into seats of power at this point, as the party has been completely overtaken by communist ideologues. It's again why I've been saying, like, any people telling you to like vote Democrat in order to teach the Republicans a lesson either knows where we are and wants to see you suffer, or is so incredibly ignorant about the political landscape right now that they should not be listened to by any means. It's okay, you know how to build printers, computers.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that, again, anyone who says that is almost certainly a snake. And, yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
And firearms from scratch. These commies can howl at the moon as much as they want. They can't stop you from being free. They're going to try their best, that's for goddamn sure. Damn.
A digital design file, CNC mills, CNC routers, lathes, 3D printers, anything subtractive, anything additive. If it takes a file and it makes a physical object, New York just put it under government surveillance. The law requires every one of these machines to be equipped with what the bill calls blocking technology. That's firmware or software that evaluates every single file against a firearms blueprint detection algorithm, and if the algorithm says no, the machine doesn't run. There are no exemptions for researchers. No exemptions.
If I buy a machine and the machine tells me, Kirsche, I can't let you do that, I'm gonna be very upset. Because, like, I've spent money on this machine to do things, and if the machine tells me it cannot do thing, then why did I spend the money on it? Like, that's...
Again, Again, the jailbreaker is absolutely the hero in this situation. If someone starts jailbreaking these machines, and I would suggest, again, if it's possible, remote jailbreaking from like foreign countries, right? I'm just saying, Russia already has some pretty fucking lax laws when it comes to spyware. Maybe they can get in on the market of jailbreaking American machines from over there, because there's not shit America's going to be able to do against them. Yeah, they're absolutely the heroes of this particular issue. Captain Rudy says law enforcement's responsibility to the public at large, not any one specific person or entity. It's not really true either. But anyway, Captain Rudy says, I like it when there's a backdoor I can exploit. And, fair. I gotta get a bonk sound effect to use against chat. Anyway, so many people are leaving New York City, and Mondami is trying to propose tax to tax people who leave to try to make them stay. Yeah, it's the exit tax. And again, to be fair, in a sane society, in a sane society, we wouldn't even have to get here because, let's just say things wouldn't actually be allowed to get there. That was a HAL 9000 reference. Yes, I am aware. I am aware. I have 2001: Space Odyssey.
It's kind of absurd. How is this not invasive surveillance? I mean, it is, but that's kind of part of the game here, unfortunately.
You'd have to get that litigated all the way to the Supreme Court, and then all that's going to happen is they're going to change a little bit of the wording of the text, and then they're going to point out, well, you didn't actually, like, strike this down, and they're going to have to repeat the entire process over and over and over again. This is why we need a law of some kind that has a severe punishment to any kind of executive, not executive, but legislative, and executive, actually, authority that does this kind of shit, right? A 3 strikes you're out policy. You did it once, that's one. You did it second time, that's it. Third time, you're out. Preferably life in prison. So, by the way, I found the thing. So this took me a little while to find because Congress's fucking internal search engine is an absolute bitch. But this is HJ Resolution 25, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to end the practice of including more than one subject in a single law by requiring that each law enacted by Congress be limited to only one subject, and that subject be clearly and descriptively expressed in the title of the law. This was proposed by Representative Marino Tom, Tom Marino, which was a Republican from Pennsylvania. And that would be this gentleman right here, 12th District, 116th, 2019, so there you go. There's the details of that. But this was, the committees were the House Judiciary. Last action was in the House, in the 12th of January 2017 referred to the subcommittee on the Constitution and Civil Justice. This did not pass, obviously, right? But let's read this, because I think this will answer the fucking question. It's like, why don't we have this? This is why. Because they didn't want this, right? Okay, let's actually read this text. All right, so shown here, introduced in House, okay, we already read this part, 115th Congress, first section, HJRES 25, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to end the practice of including more than one subject in a single law by requiring each law enacted by Congress be limited to only one subject and the subject be clearly and descriptively expressed in the title of the law. By the way, this is an example of self-justifying, right? This is a proof by demonstration that this can be done. All right. In the House of Representatives, January 9th, 2017, Mr. Marino submitted the following joint resolution, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Joint resolution, proposing an amendment of the Constitution of the United States to end the practice of including more than one subject in a single law by requiring that each law enacted by Congress be limited to only one subject and that the subject be clearly and descriptively expressed in the title of the law. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, 2/3 of each house concurring therein, that the following article is proposed as an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years after the date of this submission for ratification. Obviously, was never actually ratified. So, article. And this is the act. This was what the Constitution would have actually had if this had passed. And you have to remember, when did this happen? This happened in the 115th Congress. That was between 2017 and 2018. They were suggesting this shit in 2017. Each bill, order, resolution, or vote which must be submitted to the President under Section 7 of Article 1 of this Constitution shall embrace no more than one subject, and that shall be clearly and descriptively expressed in the title of the bill, order, resolution, or vote. There was a solution to answering pork and hidden trap legislation. And it turns out the government didn't want it. I wonder why. Oh, by the way, there's a second version of this that's actually older, and it happens to deal with the constitutional amendment process, suggesting that, again, proposed amendments to the Constitution of the United States be single subject as well. But I digress, right? So here we go. Just me nerding out about, like, proposed and failed, U.S. amendments. Captain Rudy says, finally off of work after 13.5 hours, 251 miles, and 69 stops. Oh my God. God bless Rudy. Rudy says, speaking of the thing in Oregon, Ember posted about how the DOJ needs to investigate the local PD, but she accidentally tagged the DOJ in the Philippines. That's funny. That's actually really funny.
For commercial manufacturers, the automotive industry, the aerospace industry, the medical device industry, all running CNC equipment, all now subject to machines that have to check in before they do their cutting.
Could you imagine, again, hold on, let's rewind to this. Could you imagine a medical facility getting raided by the feds, by the ATF of all people, right? For firearms violations. And it turns out that AI just mistook legitimate medical equipment for a firearm part. I mean, it's going to happen apparently, right?
Not even federally licensed gunsmiths are exempt.
That's insane.
Here's the part that they really didn't quite think through. The algorithm reads...
No, they did. This was meant to punish the people of New York.
It's shapes, geometry.
The CNC machine has been converted to a consent machine. That's true. We can no longer have fun with CNC.
It looks at a file and asks, does this look like a firearm component? A pipe looks like a barrel. A bracket looks like a receiver. A tube, a housing, a mechanical connector.
This is what makes me think this was done on purpose. Let's be fair. These people that we're dealing with, they don't want the system to be reformed. They want the system to be destroyed at the root. This was done on purpose.
Every one of these shares geometry with something on a prohibited list. One manufacturer ran their open firmware through the proposed algorithm before this passed. It flagged 17% of completely legitimate prints.
Yep.
No surprise. Engine parts, brackets, jigs, tools, all flagged. The machine then logs. The job doesn't run, and you don't get an explanation. Just a machine that won't move, and maybe even reported to the state.
That's horrifying. That, like, you might be trying to print something completely normal, not even, I feel like a firearm would be normal, but I digress. Something like not even
firearm should be normal.
related, and you get reported to the feds for it. How fucking wild is that?
This is literally, this is another step in the whole show me the man and I'll show you the crime idea, right?
No longer make phallic objects. I am a humble, horsecock-sized dildo maker.
God damn it.
I only make the strongest of metallic horse dongs, and I got reported for making firearm components.
There's also a
Kevin Rudy says, not sure if you heard, but the AI that monitors the cameras in the UK mistook a Dorito on a Dorito bag as a firearm and notified the police. I could see that. I could see that. So I was like, again, first of all, boomers don't have a concept of OPSEC, and they also, for the most part, don't really understand how any of these technologies work, and yet they're the ones writing the laws for a lot of this stuff, right? Second of all, a lot of the people, again, from any other generation don't understand how some of these technologies work. Show them me then, and I'll show you these nuts. Fucking hell, mate. I should have read that beforehand.
firmware problem. The majority of desktop machines like this, CNC and 3D printers, they run open source firmware, things like Marlin and Clipper, built and maintained by volunteers, not connected to a state database. A lot of this is even private software, not built for compliance infrastructure. It's not capable of this without being completely rebuilt. New York just mandated something that doesn't exist and can't be built in the way that they described.
That is kind of weird.
Again, I don't think that this is an accident. I think that this is, again, on purpose. I think this is a malicious act. But, you know, I digress kind of deal, right? There's only so many times you can tell someone, it's like, how many times does it take for you to get punched in the face before you realize the people punching you in the face aren't doing it on accident, they're doing it on purpose. Right? Just, let's be fucking honest here.
Philip Tyrone put it simply, we don't require...
I think this is also something, and I've, at this point, completely lost faith in anything MatPat was trying to do with the Creators Caucus.
Oh, no, I called that right from the fucking get-go, actually. I remember talking with Doctor of Insanity, actually, when MatPat first announced that he was going to do a Creator Caucus. And Doctor of Insanity was hopeful that maybe something could get done. And I was like, I told him, and I was like, I don't think anything's going to get done. I don't think he's going to do a damn thing, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he's going to be able to do a damn thing. And it turns out, once again, historically, I have been vindicated. But then I was kind of dooming on that whole Creator Caucus thing, and I did turn out to be right about that. But, yeah, I do wish that they were able to get something done. It's just I don't understand what they thought they were going to get done, because like I could never get a straight answer as to like what the actual solid solutions to the problems they were talking about actually were when I would ask questions about it.
Because it doesn't seem like they're actually doing anything, and I never even got a response, so much for being bipartisan, I suppose. But this seems like something that, if the Creators Caucus was a real thing that wanted to do real good, this would be something they could take up. Because I would see any kind of like 3D printing or manufacturing in that degree as a part of e-commerce and a part of like online sales as well. Obviously, you can 3D print and sell things in person, but there's a large conglomerate of content creators that do 3D printed content. They make things themselves. They show people how to make things. They give whatever the fuck the files are called out to people to make their own things at home. So it was just some performative PR bullshit. Colored you shocked? You know, it just, I guess maybe Brendan Herrera has like tainted my view on content creators, tainted in a good way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because he actually tried, right? He actually like had a plan and it just didn't pan out.
Because like Brendan actually wanted to do things and wanted to do good things, whereas a lot of other creators typically only do things that serve their self-interests. And whenever I see like people, especially like fighting on things on Twitter, you know, it makes me think of that Asmongold clip about Ludwig, where it's like, When someone is doing the right thing, heavy quotes, you have to look at, are they doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, or are they doing the right thing because it is the correct choice financially or for their brand? Because there are some people who do not want to do whatever the right thing is, but they will do it anyways because it would be better for their brand if they did it. And it makes me think of like what certain people choose to defend or complain about as far as other creators go. And it's just like, that's really interesting. That's really interesting, man.
I'm going to pause this here. Okay, so Captain Rudy said, remember, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are so old that they're not even boomers. They're technically part of the silent generation. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. But there's a thing Kirsche is currently forgetting. You're not in a place to give a damn about that. We are not in a place to care about whether or not someone who is going to do a thing is doing the thing because it's the right thing to do or because it's going to somehow advantage them. I don't really care if doing the right thing advantages a person, advancing doing the right thing, right? I don't really care. We are in a position where we just need to get the people in who will do the right thing, whether or not they're doing it because they genuinely believe in it or because they're going to benefit from doing the right thing. Doesn't fucking matter, right? You're not in, like, again, the opposition to the left is not a single ideology, right? We are only even remotely challenging the left through big tentism, to be perfectly honest. If we start vying for this ideological purity idea, which is what we're talking about right here, right? It's like, are they doing it because they actually believe it, or are we doing it because, again, it's just beneficial to us? Doesn't fucking matter. Like, again, what these people want to do to us is genuinely bad enough to where it's like, hey, the enemy of my enemy may not be my friend, but that guy's trying to kill both of us. So we at least have a common enemy to work with against right now, right? Again, it's like rewind the clock, right? You start like with the Muslim expansion, right? Like you go back in time, right? You start talking to like the Catholic world, the Tengrist, and like the Mongols, and then you start talking to like the Zoroastrians, and you just tell them, it's like, hey man, I know you Zoroastrians and you Christians don't get along, but you're both gonna collapse if you don't fucking work together to deal with this problem, right? And then you have these people be like, well, we're going to mutually benefit from this decision, but I'm not going to side with this guy because I don't really like him. And guess what? They both fall. Because that's historically what happened. The Tengrist collapsed. The fucking, again, like, oh my God. Sometimes you have to be willing to work with people who do not have the same values as you to deal with a enemy that is, again, you're not going to be able to deal with on your own. It is just that simple, right? If the fucking Hindu, Zoroastrian, Tengrist, and Catholic, world actually had gotten together to oppose Islam, they would have won, right? It would have been basically a close to an envelopment as you could have gotten historically speaking, right? But because everyone decided to stand on principle, every single one of these societies collapsed one by one by one. The Catholics were basically purged for the most part from Anatolia, right? Tengrism collapsed all across the Mongolian world. 100 million dead in India is not exactly a small number. Almost no Zoroastrians exist anymore relative to what they used to, right? Look at what your ideological purity got you. Sometimes you just have to do the big tentism and deal with the fact that, like, again, someone's going to do what you want. Maybe not for the reason that you want, but you can still use this fucker. So, yeah. That's my somewhat pragmatic take on that, right?
You could see the Statue of Liberty and Twin Towers when you were stationed in New York. Shame. That is a shame. You own a 3D printer, and yes, sometimes artists do just that. Don't worry about it. It's just like this seems like a prime example. And one of the people that signed on to the Creators Caucus was in fucking New York. So again, you would think if the Creators Caucus was actually something and not just like a Matt Pat marketing scheme, that this would be something that they would want to take up, right?
Yeah, I lost all respect for Matt Pat a long time ago, to be perfectly honest. Fushizi says, man, I hate it when Leaf gets into these moods where she almost attacks people on disability because food or whatever reason. Don't mind me just taking a bunch of strays from her ranting. Oof. Fair enough. Kevin Riddy says, who do you think would win in a fight between Jesus and Muhammad? Well, I mean, if we're going based off the lore, right? If we're going based off the lore, it would very clearly be Jesus, right? It kind of depends. It kind of depends. If the atheist is right, then it could go. If the atheist is right, then I couldn't answer the question because it depends on the context, right? If we take a religious perspective from it, it's very certainly going to be Jesus.
You know, I don't know. A lot of content creators would make great politicians, honestly, blood-sucking parasites who say sweet lies as easily as one breathes. And that's why it's just like, it sucks. It sucks that fucking Ohio guy was just like an egotistical weird dude and not someone like Brendan Herrera who actually wanted to do something.
Yeah, if you're talking about someone like these people, right, where they're saying the words, but they won't actually do the fucking thing, then yeah, sure. We need to filter those people out, right? Because they are just going to take time and resources away from people who are actually going to do the thing. If someone is going to do the thing that needs to be done, even if it's for the wrong reason, it still needs to get done.
3D printed guns are the excuse. The purpose is to crush small companies by making it impossible to comply with regulations.
Yes, again, this is exactly what I brought up earlier. Because again, and it's not just that. Remember, one of the reasons that they hate the 3D printer is because again, it removes the Gramscian control over the arts. They need the arts. The arts are a concretization of a metaphysic of a view of man in his life in the world, right? The reason the left is so powerful now in society is because they basically control all the levers of cultural production. The conservative makes no effort to control the levers of cultural production. They just gave all the levers of cultural production to the left. And 3D printing is one of those ways where you can take a little bit of that power back away from the collective left and give it to the individual. And so it's not exactly all that surprising that, again, they would go against things like 3D printing, just like they go against AI, because these are, again, ways to rein in power for cultural production from the collective. But anyway.
I mean, yeah, ever since COVID, basically, there's been this like huge push to try and destroy mom and pop shops. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it doesn't overtly look like we're gonna kill the mom and pop shops, but like everything they do, regulation wise, is basically to achieve that goal.
Table saws to scan wood for weapon shapes. We don't require lathes to phone home before turning metal. But that's exactly what this law does to every machine, every file, and every job. Except, here's what New York didn't tell you. The technology, in fact, does exist. A Spanish company called Print and Go already built it. And I've done a video on it previously, and I'll have that linked in the description. Their software is called 3D Gunt. It checks...
Okay, that's funny. Oh my god.
I don't know if he would appreciate it, but you know, at least something is named after Ethan Ralph now.
Every print job against a database of gun blueprints and uses AI to flag those shapes of common firearm components before the machine runs. Now, the Manhattan District Attorney has been citing...
Why is that word here? Because we live in clown world where we have the FUTA bill and the Gunt 3D gun surveillance. Suffolk Gunt. Someone's gonna 3D print a purse and it's gonna get stolen.
Oh my god.
Flashforge into other manufacturers, threatening them with legal exposure if they don't adopt it. That campaign started back in 2025 before this bill existed.
Interesting.
The DA was already threatening manufacturers with the software before the law mandated the software.
That's
now,
crazy.
The governor's budget provision, it didn't create a new requirement and then go looking for a solution. They built the enforcement mechanism first, then they wrote the law to match it.
M2 Sniffles, thank you. New from Sloppa Tactical. The Gunt. No need for a holster. Just be a fat fuck and slap your toolie under your snatch flap and then get on with your day. True. New commercial.
Now, there's
There's
second
more.
part of this bill that barely got covered. Subpart A, sections 2.10 and 2.11. It makes it a Class E felony to distribute or possess a digital design file that could...
This, I'm sure he's not going to read it. It says, any dealer in firearms or gunsmith who, on or after May 31st, 2027, sells, transfers, disposes of, or transports or ships as merchandise a convertible pistol shall be guilty of a Class D felony. Now, it says May 31st, 2027. So I feel like that means most people won't even know that this has passed in a budget bill, and we won't be seeing anyone push back against this other than this guy until like May of next year. Maybe April of next year if some people get on board sooner.
Yeah, but that's part of the design. Again, the design is no one will notice it. This is why we needed that single amendment bill that I cited earlier, right? If we had that single amendment, that single bill amendment, none of this would be possible. And that's exactly why we didn't get it, right? I'm telling you, if you go and you look up a lot of the failed proposals for amending the U.S. Constitution are really bad. But some of them really good. Some of them are like, damn, why don't we have this why don't we have this amendment in the U.S. Constitution? One that made it up to Congress and then was just never ratified. Oh, wait a minute. That should, it's because they benefit from having that power. Interesting.
But, I've been screaming about bridge for years now, and barely anyone has picked it up, so...
I mean, that's fair.
Firearm component, if you share it with anyone who isn't a federally licensed gunsmith, a journalist covering this story, a researcher studying it, an artist, anyone who sends a file without first verifying that the recipient holds a federal firearms license and a New York gunsmith registration, felony. And that's just what made it into the budget. Sitting in committee right now, not yet passed, but very much alive, is Assembly Bill A2228 and its Senate companion S3562. Same bill, both chambers. It would require a full firearms background check before you can purchase any of these tools. The kind of background check that you do when you buy a firearm, except for a 3D printer or a CNC machine or a lathe. This isn't a series of isolated proposals. This is a campaign.
Yeah,
the
it's coordinated attack.
Passes first. Get the machines online, get the files scanned. The in-person sales requirement, it comes next. Control the point of purchase. The background check bill is the last door. Once that closes, you need the government permission to own the tools at all. This is that same pattern that we've been seeing year after year. They pass it, then they bury it, then they enforce it on people who build things, fix things, or make things. And it's...
I really don't understand, like, the entire war on any kind of labor men. It's just like, if this war on men who do actual labor continues, everywhere in the U.S. will end up like New England.
That's the goal.
Where there is massive shortages of any kind of guys that keep everything running. Shortages of electricians, shortages of plumbers, shortages of construction workers, just shortages of, like, every guy that can actually keep society running.
Yeah, that's the goal.
It's just like, I don't want to see that, because if we start getting shortages literally everywhere, that's going to fucking suck. Make the majority of people slaves to the state. It's fucking awful. I don't want more people reliant on the state, man.
Spreads. Because Washington passed theirs first. New York followed. California's version is already drafted. Once one state...
I didn't know that Washington already had a bill like this. That's kind of crazy. Washington State speed running the communisms that New York has slowly been going down the drain in.
Sets the template, the others copy it. And the manufacturers build it into every machine that they sell everywhere because...
So I'm going to pause this here. And again, as someone who doesn't want Texas to secede from the Union, if you want to understand why Texas secessionism is growing in Texas, this is the kind of bullshittery that causes Texas secessionism to grow in Texas, right? If this is the caliber of people that we have to deal with being part of the Union, maybe we don't need to be part of the Union, right? And I somewhat sympathize with the point. Right? Like, it's not like Texas couldn't stand on its own. We give more money to the federal government than we actually take, right? We are in a perpetual surplus. Yeah. Personally, I would rather prevent the civil war that would inevitably fall from, come from the, what would you call it? The secession of Texas from the Union. But I don't know. it does seem just like it's maybe more responsible.
It's cheaper than making 2 different product lines. Your machine anywhere, watching every file. They told you that this was about ghost guns. A ghost gun epidemic. That's what they called it. Classic safety-enriched fear-mongering. For that, every single CNC machine in the state gets a surveillance chip. Every file gets scanned.
It's not for that. They did that because they know that they can actually, like, again, get people to actually do, you know, they know that it's a good way to get people to, like, pull at people's emotions. They know that that's a way that they can get this passed is by saying this, but that's not what it's for.
Every online sale gets banned. Every small shop, every garage, every fabrication business, in person only or not at all. This isn't a firearms law. It's a manufacturing law, and they buried it in the budget because they knew exactly what it was.
And I'm sure they're using guns as like the fear mongering of, oh, we're just doing this for the firearms. Don't worry about it.
Hello, Hamo Deal. Hamo Deal?
It's not going to stop there. It never stops there. The slippery slope is not a fallacy, as we've seen time and time again. Spooky ghost guns. Are the spooky ghost guns just as good as the spooky ghost dick? Diddly diddler, thank you. It's amazing what happens when you implement mail-in ballots statewide in Washington. It's also tiresome. It's also tiresome. Wish there was more we could do about horrific state bills like this and the Road to Digital ID one that passed in South Carolina recently. Oh, it's similar.
Yeah, there is something. First of all, you could, again, vote and pay attention to what's being, like, again, ratified in your local community. But also invest in all you can for any kind of decentralization tool, right? Anything that allows you to, again, produce without the hand of the master. Again, it's like if you can get started in home labbing. I know it's expensive, but you don't have to do it right now. But like when you get the opportunity and the prices for the, again, silicone chips drop, look into investing in home labbing for yourself, not for some extrinsic profit, right? Look into, again, using 3D printers, you know, because you can apparently make injection molds with 3D printers. Just saying, right? Look into, again, how to jailbreak your equipment, right? That's another good way to do that. Like, any means that you can take power back for yourself individually first, yeah. But also, again, oppose these fuckers when they're local, right? Because that's where it all starts. It's where you actually have to start the fight.
To like the SAVE Act, right? Like there are so many Republicans even that were just like, nope, can't do that. And it's like, why can't you? Like what are we supposed to do if we elect you to do what we want and then you just say, nope, can't do that? Like it's infuriating that these people get voted into seats of power and then either do nothing or only do things harmful with it. And we have to sit here and just wait for an election cycle to hopefully outvote the retards who want to keep someone like that in their position. Have you ever wanted a pet, but the response...
All right, so there's that, right? So, yeah, I don't mean to doom, but yeah, again, it is worse than you think with some of this stuff, right? Like, there is no benevolent intention. The benevolent intention is a spook given to make it easier, the pill easier to swallow. But no, they will use your desire for safety and security as the very noose that they will hand you, you know, the rope that they will hand you to, you know, to hang yourself with. But, yeah, so that is my thoughts on the whole, again, 3D printing restriction that has, and, you know, CNC router restrictions that passed in New York. It is going to have devastating consequences in New York. It's probably going to have consequences that ripple out in the rest of the United States, even if it's not like, oh yeah, the rest of the United States is doing this. Nah, just the fact that it's economically affecting New York is going to have downstream consequences for the rest of the goddamn country. And I am fucking tired of New York, to be perfectly honest. I cannot stand New York in particular. But, you know, it's not like, if you're from New York, that's fine. You as a person I don't have an issue with. I have an issue with New York as a state and culture. So, there's that. Let's see. So, that's going to be the end of this video. Y'all have a lovely day, and I will catch you in the next video.